Hello there again. So we did earlier to do app. Now what we're going to do right now is we're going to create a simple calculator using JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And we'll be using this called Pen.io. This is an online IDE. We have our skeleton or our skeleton HTML. It's very simple. We always have this as a HTML. So inside the body, what we're going to do is we're going to add a list. Let's start with a div. A div is always the best thing to do. And inside this div, we're going to class it. Let's name it also. Let's name it container. Let's name the class as container. Something like that. Container. Let's name it calculator. Calculator. Now let's remove this because we're using this to do app. Let's remove it. The title, and let's call our title calculator. Now our div, we've created our div, call it calculator. What's the problem here? Now inside our div, let's put an input for us to input something. And inside the input type. Now this our input type. We can put a text. Input type to be text. And the input ID. Let's call it display. Input ID to be display. And let's put it as disable. Really important things to do here. So inside our div, let's put another div. Just like that. Another div. Close it. Now this div, let's put a class inside it. And the class name, let's call it buttons. Buttons as a double div. Div class buttons as inside here. I want us to input buttons. Our first button. I'll call this button. Control C. A calculator has numbers 1 to 10 as the buttons, and then after 1 to 10 it has addition, subtraction. So let's start with number 7. We go to 8, we go to 9. inside here, let's put a division. Let's put a division. Now, then create another button. Four buttons, and then we are going to start with 4, then 5, then 6, and let's put a multiplication right there. Then create 4 buttons. Then since we did start from 4, then come to 3, then 2, and then 1. And inside there, the 3 to 1, let's put a subtraction. Now, the last 4, the last 4 buttons. And now inside these 4 buttons, let's put a 0 and 0. What else? Let's put a decimal point, a point, and an equal sign also, and then we can put an addition. And that's our simple HTML for our calculator. Now, what we're going to do is the CSS. Now the CSS will start with the dot calculator because it's a class. Dot calculator. Inside the dot calculator, we're going to put the width equal sign 300 px. And then the margin with an equal sign of auto. No, I'll put an equal sign. We don't use an equal sign in CSS. I'm really sorry. We'll use this. Really sorry. It would have given us a very bad error. It would have been very unavoidable. Very sorry for using that. Now the display. Come here and see the display is an ID that is inside input. So since it is an ID, we're going to start with the hash sign, then display. How to design our display. The width of our display should be 100. Now this will put a percentage. Since it's a display, and then the height we will be typing. Let's put it at 50. Very important to put 50 pixels. Depending on what you're creating, this always change. The height and the width always change depending on what you're creating. Now we are going to do the margin. The margin bottom. going to put it at 10px. What else? Forgotten something. The font size. Font size. Font size. Let's put it at 24. Px, very simple. We need to be faster here, so we don't waste time. Then the button, which is a class name. We call it buttons. Let me look at it. We call it buttons. Very important there. Now the buttons, we are going to display it as a grid view. Display our buttons as grid. Then the grid template colors, columns. We need to be a gap. Put our gap at 5 pixels. X, something like that. Now the button design. We've finished designing our HTML. Of course, this is a button padding 20px, and then the font size. The font size. Let's put our font size at 18px. Just a simple design styling of our HTML. So we will design the div using the calculator as the class, the display, the ID of the input, the buttons, which is the class, and the original buttons. So for last part now, we're going to do the JavaScript. Now our JavaScript, we're going to do const display equal document dot get element by ID, and the element we're getting by ID is the display. What else we're going to do is the button. Const button buttons, get a ID called buttons equals document ID, and inside, no, no, we are not going to get element here. This is the button. What we're going to get is a query selector. Query, so query selector all. Is the query selector all. And inside here, it's the button. Buttons. Take a look at our index HTML. I've already done the input. Now we're going to do the div using this query selector buttons. Now we're going to create a function here. Buttons. And the buttons we're going to do for each button that we have. For each button, let's create another for each button function. Since it's a function, we're going to add an event listener to the button now. Add event listener. Going to add an event listener. And the event listener is a click one. When I click this event listener, I'm going to do a function. Const call this value equals to button text content. Now if the value is equal to equal, how we are going to find this answer. Display dot value is now eval means evaluation, so that's the only thing we're going to use here. Display what we display That's our first if. Else if our value, so our value is something else. Let's call this C as the clear button. C, if it's C means let's say clear. If the value is C, what do? We display display value, display dot value is equal to something that is there or like that. See, open display dot value. We're going to do else do something else. Display dot value, display dot value is a plus equals to value. Now going to do here. Now let's debug this code. Const display equals to document get element by ID display const buttons document get query select all button. I think this should be button, and then buttons for each button equals button add event listener. The event listener is click. Another function const value. Now button for each, it loops through all buttons. This button for each loops through all buttons. And then the button with an arrow function which is a shorter modern syntax of writing it. Now get button or the button.text gets the content in the button, this one. So we have the if value. If the value is equal to equal, it does an evaluation, an eval, and the eval displays a value. Else if the value equals to C, which we have said C means clear, it brings the value to a blank. Else the display value. Now we're going to preview this. We'll see our preview. Now, there is a problem with our styling, but I'm sure everything works. So say 7. Let's go to times 2, find the equal sign. There's a problem with our style. Come to our style. With margin auto. Spaces. This is very good for us to put spaces. It's here. Put a space. That's a button. As you say, the padding, the 20 18 pixels, the gap is at 5 pixels. Rewrite where the problem is there. Put an S, becomes like that. So very simple. That's why we're going wrong. From our style, we had found the problem here. This is our JavaScript. So I'm really sorry. So what I'm seeing here, we don't have the clear button in our HTML. So we're going to do a clear button. Let's call this button. Put an ID inside the ID. Clear button, and we called it C. And there it is. It's our clear. So take a look at the preview. That's a simple calculator. Let's look at our HTML. Again, inside the body div, class the calculator. There's something that's missing, that's why this thing is not working. I realize it's our spacing. We're doing some shallow spacing. For example, the main thing about this, you need to make sure that your spacing is very correct. So if you take a look at this preview, let's reload this preview again. There it is, our calculator. And if we say 4 minus 2 equal sign gives you 27 times 2 equal sign, then we can clear, then have 4.2 plus 3.6, put an equal sign, there it is. Now what else? For 9, let's say we clear the board. 9 divided by 6 equals sign 1.5. So that's our calculator. I can save this calculator there and code pen, and that's a very simple calculator that you can create using ES6 features. And this is just a very simple one and I think everyone can do it. So this is the HTML. Then this is the CSS, simple CSS, and then this is the JavaScript. Very simple type of code. And there you have it.